Daniel Defoe was born in London on April 3rd in 1660. He refused to become a Presbyterian preacher and he soon launches himself into trading, traveling across the continent. In 1683, Daniel Defoe opens a goods shop and marries Mary Toffley, the daughter of a rich merchant. They will have 6 children. In 1692, there is a collapse. Defoe goes to prison for bankruptcy with £17,000 of liabilities. In 1688, he takes part to the so-called Glorious Revolution, joining the army, and he decides to be of service of William of Orange. He stands up for freedom of press and conscience, of literary property and religion. When his protector dies, he gets arrested for defaming the church. While he is in prison, Daniel Defoe gives birth to the journal The Review that will become a milestone of English journalism. After 1750, he definitively walks away from politics. Then he focuses on novels. In 1780, he publishes Robinson Crusoe. Other works follow, like Life, Adventures and Piracies of the famous Captain Singleton. Then The Fortunes and Misfortunes of the famous Moll Flanders, Colonel Jack, and at the end, Lady Rocca. In 1731, Daniel Defoe dies in Moll, the 24th of April, left by his son who has squandered him of his wealth, leaving the father in the most extreme poverty. Daniel Defoe is considered the first fully fledged serial writer. First of all, he is an essayist and a journalist, and is considered the father of the modern novel. Of that particular literary genre, where we find the affairs of a singular character or a group of characters at the heart of the story, in which he tries to comply with standards of verisimilitude and coherence. All the characteristics just explained can be found in the novel Fortunes and Misfortunes of the famous Moll Flanders, the unique story of a unique woman that we are going to analyze together. After being abandoned by a mother who has been imprisoned at Newgate, the little child lives firstly with a nurse and then by a rich family in Colchester. So she learns good manners and she is admired for her beauty. She falls in love with the firstborn of her guests and she becomes his lover. But then she marries the youngest of the sons in the house, who unfortunately dies after a few years. The protagonist decides to marry a merchant who in a short time loses all their money and is obliged to run away, giving her the possibility to get married again. Pretending to be a very rich widow, Moll gets married with a man who is the owner of the plantation in Virginia, and they move to America. Here, she gets to know the mother-in-law who loves talking about her youth when she has been imprisoned at Newgate. Moll realizes the truth, means she realizes to be in front of her mother, and she understands that she has married her brother, so she decides to abandon the family in order to come back to England. The woman settles in Bath, where she will live another short love story. The protagonist entrusts the belongings to a bank trustee, and she gets married to James, a man who pretends to be married and who believes that Molly is rich too. When they discover the misunderstanding, the husband decides to look for fortune in Ireland, and Moll Flanders gets married with the trustee, who unfortunately dies a few years later. Pushed by the housekeeper who was helping her to give birth to her last baby, the woman starts to earn a living by robbing. She learns a lot of tricks and she gets rich, making her fame grow across London. Only after a lot of time, Moll is discovered and arrested, and then she's sent to Newgate, where she meets again her husband James, who meanwhile has become a brigand. Escaped from death penalty thanks to the prize, she succeeds at being deported in America with her husband. In America, she begins a new life, repentant, getting rich because of the money the mother has left her. The entire story is about the character of Moll Flanders, and we get to know the plot little by little, gradually through her own tales. Due to the first person narration, the main character of the novel shows us the entire plot, without omitting details. The novel has a clear moral aim, as Defoe explains in the preface. Moll Flanders are childish adventures, dwelling on the description of many and different shots developed in the period before the detection. in order to warn potential victims. Since the beginning, the movie is honest. In fact, it talks about the inspiration of the character of the novel of 1722. In the movie of 1996, we won't find a lot of elements of the novel. The story is in fact turned upside down by the director BENEDETTA. The movie ends with Moll, who's just 30, wife wanting a life, and without brothers. Yet Moll, different from the book, is not a thief, and she never goes to Virginia. We don't have a first-person narration, but a third one, and the whole story is told by Ibo, the servant or the landlady of the brother, while Moll is grown up, who tells the story to Flora, Moll's daughter, reading it from her diary while they are on their way. In fact, the movie in the beginning talks about Flora, orphaned and taken in custody by the butler Ibo. All these things create a clear attachment between the two works. The third-person narrator ties up the intimacy and the transparency that the reader in the lecture of the book, proceeding with the narration through flashbacks, not allowing the audience to know what Moll really thinks in her life and every situation. The absence of interruptions in the book, such as the absence of division chapters, creates a huge firmness in the story. So the movie is less homogeneous. In the novel, Moll gets to understand all her mistakes she has done only at the end, when the protagonist realizes to be on the verge of death. Also, the plots are completely different, and the narration typologies too. Although all these things, the strong nature of the character emerges in both works. Even if it seems that the movie tells the story of another woman, one of the few similarities is the pride of the character. The movie tells the story of a woman who suffers, resists, and survives. Novel character is less succubus of events, facing a lot of adventures. It both tells the story in order to let the daughter to know her mother's adventurous life, who has been able to rediscover the meaning of the deepest human values, facing unhuman conditions paradoxically. The rediscover that BENEDETTA talks about is strictly linked to Defoe's narrative idea. One of the topics covered in the novel is the morality or immorality of the actions. Flanders often pushes the readers to ask themselves if doing something immoral for need is really immoral. In the novel, there is a strong critical against the society, ruled only by rich and smart men. Anyway, in the plot, we can see a way forward, meaning the ability to change ourselves like Moll. The folk talks about resilience and ruthlessness, about tenacity and fight against an oppressive and limited system. The truth is often revealed, but then betrayed, abused, but at the end recovered and confessed it. In the literary world, this novel plays a very important role. It is one of the first Defoe's novels and historically one of the first modern novels, but above all, it is a book of criticism full of history, which let the reader to know the details of a time and its characteristics through the life of a woman and her adventures. I chose this book because it tells the story of a brave and determined woman. Although the protagonist does a lot of morally questionable things, I think that the way she succeeds in shaping her own character in her life, even if she has been affected by 1,000 adversity. I also think that if we make a comparison between the movie and the book, BENEDETTA's movie, despite the fact that it's well done, seems to be a summary of the original book. I recommend to all of you to read the book. You will certainly fall in love with Moll, just like me.